I'm Bella, and welcome to the 6 Steps to Seeing It Through in the Boss Academy for Women Leading. Today we will talk about my personal journey through each of the 6 steps, starting with spiritual. Once upon a time, I was in a really challenging work situation. I was being marginalized, discriminated against, bullied, and I was just in an overall toxic work environment. I really did not expect to enter in this type of work environment. I had no idea. I was truly blindsided by what I was experiencing and my aspirations of moving to a new position. Once I started to feel that things weren't going well, I have that sixth sense in me that I just start to feel when I'm not comfortable or when I'm not being accepted the way that I feel is appropriate on a job setting. And so in this situation, I started to not feel very well, and the truth started to come out that I wasn't being treated very well on purpose. And as a child of God, as someone who has been in church all of my life, and knew that anytime you have a challenging situation, you have to pray. But not only do you have to pray, but you have to put your prayer in action. You have to have faith, you have to have hope, and you have to keep moving. So something hit me one day when I was in an office setting and there was animosity around. There was a lot of tension and things being done behind the scenes that were really hurtful and directed at me. Within that setting, during that day, I happened to have a colleague in the office who was a fellow woman of color, a Black woman, who had always treated me very well. She didn't know me very well. She didn't talk to me a lot, but she never didn't acknowledge me in my presence. And I noticed that. And so while I was starting to feel uncomfortable in the office, and some of the people who were intentionally bullying me and doing nasty things to get ahead or to try to sabotage me while we were all in this office, I decided to, something inside of me just said, say this out loud right now in front of everyone. And so I turned to this woman who was a fellow colleague, and I said, "What church do you go to?" And when I said that, she responded and said, "Oh, I go to this church, and such and such and such, and if you want to go with me on Monday, I'd be happy to bring you along. I'll give you the address," and whatever. The conversation continued on in the presence of my enemies. And I did that on purpose to let everyone in that setting know that I was a child of God, and that whatever they had against me, that I had something bigger that was stronger and better than anything that they could throw my way. And let me tell you something, it was the best decision I ever made. Once I actually did go to the church with my coworker. She did sit me down and tell me that, yes, there's things being said about you. There's things that are being done, and this is the history of that department. And I will bring this coworker up a little bit later in one of the other 6 steps, because it is important to have an ally. It is important to have support on your side. But in this video, we're talking about the spiritual aspect of it, and she offered me a spiritual connection to this particular church. When I did start going to this church, I went with her quite often, and then eventually I started to go on my own because I was really in a lot of pain. Sometimes I wanted to go to church and I literally was crying in church, sobbing and in distress. And that was something that was private, and I wish that I could have shared with her, but I just didn't. I needed to have my own moment. So sometimes I went with her and sometimes I did not go with her. But I was still truly thankful that she opened up that opportunity for me to go to this particular church. So thankfully, at this particular church, the pastor is very organized, very structured, somewhat young gentleman who structured his sermons like a unit plan, like a teacher. You could tell that it's an actual main point to it, and there's subtopics, and that they're addressing different points, and they're moving through a curriculum basically, of course aligned with the Bible. But this particular phase of time, he was dealing with how to get through circumstances when you're dealing with the enemy. And one thing that stuck out to me during that time is when he spoke about that you're not fighting people, you're not dealing with people and what they're doing wrong to you. You are really, they're the devil personified. They are basically representing evil. And that is what it is. So take the personal out of it and know that that is where the battle is. And that, like they always say, it's not yours, it's the Lord's. It absolutely is. And to sum up what happened in that situation, I kept going to the church. It really uplifted my spirits. It really calmed me through my different states of emotions about this situation. I also was listening to the other YouTubers who had inspirational messages. One in particular that I heard by a young lady named Daphne on YouTube, very, very spiritual young lady. One YouTube she had was about vindication. And throughout my time in this job situation, it was terrible, but eventually it stabled out, and God took care of people and took care of things, but there was still a remnant of some ugliness going on just because of the history. Everything doesn't change overnight. But one of the last pieces of the situation started to taper out, but before that I ran into the YouTube that she put out about being vindicated, and I didn't think about that part of it. I knew that, hey, I'm in a situation, I don't want to be here, I'm praying my way out of it, something's going to happen, I'm going to get out of the situation, da, 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 da. But being vindicated is not something that was at the top of my mind. Well, she had her YouTube on vindication, and please look it up if you're going through something. I want to connect anyone who's listening to me to the people who helped me out. That's the whole point of this course that I'm offering. But I was vindicated. And sometimes the vindication doesn't come right then. And some of mine came right then. These same people who were ugly to me, who were plotting against me just so they could prove a point in their own desires for that company, they use me as kind of a way to get ahead. And those people were let go. Those people were fired. Those people quit and removed themselves from the situation. And I was vindicated prior to leaving that job, which was lovely. I mean, I shouldn't wish bad on anyone, but you just stay true to who you are, it will be taken care of, and that's their battle they have to fight. But the vindication didn't end there. It actually went on for years until one of the main people who tried to make my life miserable finally was removed from their position years later. Yes, do I think that's unfair? Yeah, they should have been removed years, but sometimes things don't happen when you want to. You just have to get on your path to what you are doing, and you let God take care of the rest, and you will be vindicated. And you don't want to wish bad or say, aha, I told you so. You got to just stay focused, and that's something else that the young lady Daphne says, is that you're not doing things out of spite. That's not your job. That's not your role in it. People will be taken care of accordingly, because that's just something that they're fighting within themselves, and they're taking it out and projecting it onto you. However, I just want to close in saying that spiritual journey that I went through really rescued and saved me and helped me sustain myself in a situation where I didn't know how to get out of. But that was just one component, the spirituality in it, that helped me amongst others. And I hope you enjoyed the story. And in the comments, please tell me any stories that you have, anything you identify with, anything that you use spiritually to help you get through it, through your tough situation, and I'd love to hear it below. Thanks. Bye. Also, remember, not only comment below, but like and subscribe. I would love for you to tell a friend about the 6 steps to seeing it through in the Boss Academy for Women Leading.